Hey y'all, how's it going? Welcome back. It's Mia, and today we are discussing my spoiler-free review for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And I do have a lot of thoughts about this film, and there are some things that really work well, and then there are some things that, get a little bit muddled, but I will say overall, I did think it was a very moving film. It was a very beautifully composed film, and a lot of that is because this narrative is very much centered on T'Challa's death, and of course, mirroring that of Chadwick Boseman in real life. And so, obviously, you're like, okay, we know this definitely wasn't the original story that they wanted to tell, but as far as everything is concerned, I think it was done quite well in crafting the narrative around that kind of focal point or that moment. And really, I'm like, as I was thinking about it, I was like, I don't think I've ever seen a movie be a sort of love letter in this way, where it honors a character, but really in reality, it's honoring an actor's work and honoring his legacy. And like in the span of the whole film, that's kind of what it was to him. And in doing so, it also explores a lot of these deep themes about grieving and death and overcoming these feelings and emotions. So I think they did really well in that regard. And what I will say is that I think what really works for just the whole of Black Panther is this world that Ryan Coogler helped to bring on screen, and everyone involved with it, especially the actors and the characters. And of course the actors, I mean, we've got a supremely stellar cast, but I think everyone would be able to agree that Angela Bassett in this was the standout actress. And she really, she always gives a great performance, but this one was the one that she really took it to the next level. And I think that helped to sell the film as well, because again, this is a film that explores these really deep emotions, and so for her to really bring that to the table, it really, I guess, it helps to amplify every scene, because it's taken seriously. And I would say that's the strength of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, is when we have these emotional scenes with two characters. They're talking about their emotions, they're dealing with this grief, or trying to move past it, trying to find ways to move on. And that I think is a really beautiful part of this storytelling and about the way this narrative was crafted. And I would say, I guess the unfortunate part about it is that, as I told my friend, there's still this Marvel gonna Marvel thing, where there are some things that they have to throw in there that muddles the narrative a bit. And I'll talk about that in a second. So another aspect that I did like about this film was Namor, just the whole that he is, the civilization that he comes from, which is kind of like Atlantis, but we've already got Aquaman out there in the DC universe. He's from Atlantis, so I can see they didn't really want to step on any toes there. So we've got this new civilization. It's called Talocan, which every time I say that, it reminds me of my favorite Mexican restaurant here. It's called Tectaliclan, so I have to make sure I don't mix those two up ever again. But it is a beautifully crafted civilization that they've helped to build really from scratch, based on Mayan history and culture. And so that was really beautiful how they helped to weave that in there as well. And Tenoch Huerta, new favorite actor, really. So I'm really glad that he brought a lot of passion to this role as well. But I suppose the problem is when this movie gets a little convoluted, in the fact that it feels a little uneven, because we have this whole addition of, for now I'm just gonna have to call it, Atlantis, this Atlantis society, in which we're giving a full-blown backstory to Namor, in addition to also adding the character Riri Williams. And so when I think back, I'm like, I think Captain America Civil War did it best, because they had to introduce two new characters, Spider-Man and Black Panther, while also having this broader narrative of the war going on. And so I thought they did that well when they said, hey, we're just going to have a scene where Tony Stark meets Peter Parker, and then he's going to join the fight. And then we're going to have this one scene where T'Challa sees his father die, and then he's going to join the fight. And basically whatever else needs to be said will be explored in their own respective movies. So they did do that with Riri Williams, and I know she has her series coming up, so there'll be a ton more to explore there. But the unbalancedness felt very visible or present when, we're getting all this stuff about Namor, which is awesome, but it was just so much information that I feel like it really just should have been saved for a Namor movie. I think perhaps they should have had a villain who would not take up as much screen time, because the movie does run just over 2 hours and 40 minutes. And so I'm like, I like it, but the weight feels a little uneven. It really feels like Black Panther and Namor, and not just a Black Panther movie. And I don't know, I do like the pairing of these two, mystery civilizations coming together, but I think maybe they could have saved that for the next film where, Namor gets fleshed out. In this movie, we just focus on dealing with the grief of T'Challa, finding out what's going to happen with the Black Panther, who's going to take up the mantle, yada, yada, yada. And then they can either be at odds, go to war, do what they have to do in that next film. In addition to that, two characters got really, really sidelined to me. And one of those characters is Everett Ross, who kind of really has a pointless storyline in this. And I'm like, almost as pointless as the Canto Bite arc in The Last Jedi, if you remember that. So that felt really strange. And as well, M'Baku. I thought we would get a lot more of him. Winston Duke was a delight in the first films. I thought they were going to promote him essentially in this film. And it almost felt like we got less of M'Baku, which was a real shame. He's a great fighter, but I thought he could have been thrown more into the mix if we had cut down on a lot of the Talokan stuff and having to add Riri Williams. I think that really just kind of, like I said, it really muddled a lot of the narrative. So overall, yeah, this was I will say I did enjoy myself watching this. I didn't, leave the theater feeling like it was Love and Thunder or Eternals, but at the same time, to me, it won't and can't compare or live up to the original, just because the storytelling was so airtight and it didn't feel like it had this Marvel agenda where you have to hit all these points and squeeze in all these characters and stuff. I will add, though, number one, I think this has to be my favorite costume design, probably of, I don't know, any movie, definitely of any Marvel movie, maybe only second to the original Black Panther. Their day-to-day clothing for the royals was just beautiful. And even when they were in Talokan and you're seeing all of the beautiful kind of underwater Atlantis-like clothing mixed in with Mayan culture. And so, yeah, there were just a lot of great looks in this as well. The girl power in this was really, it felt so natural. It was really amazing. Like I thought about it and I was like, oh, this was basically a female-led film, but it didn't feel like any of those forced, girl power moments or anything like that. Or like, it just felt natural. It's like it works. There's nothing to bat an eye at. But then it's like when you come back and look at it, you're like, wow, this is a majority female cast, and that's just awesome to see that. So I was really happy with that. So overall, I think I will give this film a B-. I think it was beautiful, could use some work, but I'm happy to have seen it regardless. So I'm going to leave it there. We will talk spoilers a little bit later on in the week. But in the meantime, leave me any spoiler-free comments down below. Be sure to leave a like. Check out my other reviews for 2022 in this video here, and subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next video. Bye. And Wakanda Forever.